Blog Talk Radio.
Cosmic Currents. I'm CJ Miller, and I'm here with my co-host, Helane Lipson, and we're teaming up to bring you news, opinion, and wisdom from the latest waves of information entering our collective consciousness at this time. Cosmic Current brings into focus the challenges and rewards we're experiencing in the here and now in 2012. And Helane Lipson and myself, CJ Miller, we are exploring all areas of thought and all forms of media, allowing you, the listener, to swim freely and openly and mindfully plot your course in the cosmic sea in which we all exist. So I'm here with Helane. Helane, are you here today?
Yes, I am. Hello. Oh,
hey.
I'm so excited to be here. I love the idea of just kicking back with you and talking about the spiritual news, or what is current at this time regarding the world changes. And it's very interesting. Like, talk about what's current. I was listening and looking at David Wilcock. I was listening to a video where somebody made a reference to him. Then I went to his Facebook page, and I saw he just put something out. And he had it was interesting, people's responses. I mean, a lot of responses to this comment about the mass arrests, that a lot of people are being arrested and everything is shifting and changing quickly. And then I went to his link on his page, divinecosmos.com, and it says, major change is about to happen. It is terrifying to discover that the world is being run by psychopaths who want to see billions of people die. Many people can't even face it. Their mind just shuts down and they attack the messenger. Nonetheless, no corrupt regime has ever survived the light of full public exposure. Our current situation is no different. So because David Wilcock and Benjamin Fulford have been talking for a while about mass arrests and everything just being shaken up, and this, it's like, and looking at it, and people look at this, I mean, they don't know what to believe. They don't know what to believe. They don't, it's overwhelming news, you know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, and it's like, what are these mass arrests? There's really no way for us to confirm that it's necessarily true, but I think it gets people kind of excited that change is occurring, even though they might just be sitting in their house listening to these interviews, to know that something is happening on at a global stage, and that things are being set right. And I think that's what, we tuned into that. We heard about this. We both listened to the Benjamin Fulford interviews. We've listened to David Wilcock interviews. We even have listened to the one with the Drake that was on with Terry Cassidy on Project Camelot, when David Wilcock was worried for his life.
Yeah, it was dramatic. It was like he had a lot of people pulling for him, but it was a confusing time.
Yeah, and that was when we first heard about the mass arrests. And then I actually remember in your own interview with James Gilliland on your show Embracing What's Real, that you discussed this. You said, Benjamin Fulford and David Wilcock are talking about mass arrests, and I want to know what you have to say about that. And I'm pretty much remembering that James Gilliland didn't have anything specific to say about that. He actually was kind of a little downplaying of that.
Yeah, he was. He said, well, I've been hearing about mass arrests since 1982. I hear somebody's arrested, and then you see him out and about. and you start to wonder what, is this really happening or not? He said so. And
but
Laura Magdalene Eisenhower, to some degree, shared James Gilliland's view, too, about it. Not to say that it's not happening, and I do think that there is a shift. The emphasis is not so much on all these arrests, but a genuinely cosmic shift.
Yeah.
Based on what's happening with the Earth, based on what's happening generally with its inhabitants or the human collective becoming more enlightened to their purpose. And there is changes. Now, you were telling me about a Tolec video.
Oh, yeah.
And so that was also like attributing to the fact that we're no longer enslaved. What did you get out of the Tolec video?
Well, first, I just want to address that was from a Blog Talk Radio show called Extraordinary Year 2012, and I can't remember the name of the host, but he's done some great interviews, and this one was actually quite recent, done in April, and it was with Tolec, who is apparently, there's a lot of great videos on YouTube with him, and he is somebody who apparently channels this information directly from the Andromedans and says that he gets his information like from somebody who's in charge, like a chief officer. And he was discussing, he actually opened the interview saying, Benjamin Fulford and David Wilcock are speaking of mass arrests, and I just want to say that I can't comment directly on that. But then he did go into, because he's worried about his, he doesn't want to be uncredible in any way. But I do recall he said some very intense stuff in this interview, and it was very hard to actually take it all in because it was focusing on underground bases with the reptilian, or the Draco-reptilians, and the Draco-reptilian human hybrids. And he was saying that basically the Andromedans have come in and seized a lot of these people that were in there, a lot of the reptilians, a lot of people who were the higher-ups in the military, and they've all been brought to this biosphere in space, the Andromedan biosphere, where they're awaiting trial. And I'm not sure, like I said, it's a very intense interview. It was almost hard to take all the information, and I had to listen to it several times. That's what I was going to say. I saw that last night. I saw the beginning of it. I couldn't get through the whole video. I fell asleep when they were talking about humans in there and what was going to happen with them and how and what has happened to humans on their bases. And it was like I fell asleep. I couldn't take it all in and process it. I mean, I'm going to tell you, way back when I first discovered David Icke, and that was a while ago, what he was saying about reptilians and the alien life, and it almost sounded crazy to me. It took me a while to digest it, first ingest it and then digest it and internalize it and try to dig deep and see how it resonates with me. But it took me a while, and I remember I was joking around with my dad. He mentioned something about President Bush, and I was like, he's a reptile. And my dad, he thought it was the funniest little comment. He thought that was so cute. He was laughing, but he didn't understand to the magnitude that I meant it. He's just a good man in general society that could not even conceptualize the fact that we could be a society controlled by reptilian race.
Well, it sounds a little out there, doesn't it? I mean,
that's why I'm even laughing as I'm saying it, because it sounds kind of crazy. But the thing is the more information that we hear, that it kind of confirms that it's a possibility, because it's like all the pieces of the puzzle start coming together. I remember when I first started listening to a lot of this information was about a couple of years ago, and it started all with Barbara Marciniak in Bringers of the Dawn. And that, again, another one, fall asleep. You listen to it, you fall asleep. It's just like TMI, too much information. I can't take it all in at once. Because when you come from, it's not that, obviously, we're not like staunch Republicans or, church-going Catholics or, we're not we didn't come from a very orthodox religious or educational background, but still we do come from a traditional place, and over time we've changed our opinions. And I remember Barbara Marciniak talking about the reptiles or the reptilians and how they feed off of our negative energy. And then, how we have to take in the cosmic rays coming from the central sun and pull in the pillar of light. And, there was just so much chock full of information, which is so interesting, but it takes a big leap of faith to start to not necessarily even take it in as a life change, but to even imagine that that's a possibility. And yet, after listening to that, I got into David Icke, and he is even more extreme about the reptiles, the reptilians. But, that confirmed for me, and then we listened to it with Tolec, and then we listened to it with this one, and more people are confirming the stories. I think the thing is not to get so caught up in, oh, no, the reptilians are controlling us. Because if you're focusing on the negative forces, and that's the thing about the reptilians, they're if we're going to describe what they are fourth-dimensional beings who have this hybrid human reptilian bloodline that goes all the way back to Sumeria, and that has become the 13 royal bloodlines that have then spread out throughout the world, and they're the ones that are supposedly controlling all of the Earth's resources through the royalty and through the governments. And so when you think about it that way, it's not just a little thing that you can ignore. It's actually, it's the possible source of many of our problems in this world.
Well, no doubt. Even in the most simplistic form, there are about 13 families, whether you believe in any kind of aliens or not, or the reptilian theories and anything. There are. This is a fact that 13 families are controlling everything. Whatever kind of power you want to attribute to them, whatever you want to say they are still basically in control of both sides of wars, every single political candidate, and have managed to keep people in power that would allow the corporate industries to create imbalance. It's created a lot of separation and even separation from ourselves as humans. We've definitely, we have to unlearn everything that we've ever been taught, at least about why we're here and who we are as human beings. What we are here for.
That's so true.
We were taught basically, the power is outside of you. There's a God outside of you. You can't really heal yourself. You have to rely dependently on our medical industry. Your safety is at risk, so you need to. So you're running out of money, and you're not going to be able to survive. You don't look good enough, and you're getting older and unsightly looking. And there's there are these constant messages that remind you you're not much. You're not much at all. You're not very important.
Oh,
and
please!
Look outside
and even before you get old, before you start aging, there's something wrong with your skin. You need to fix it. There's something wrong with your body. You need to change it. There's something wrong with your face. You need to get some plastic surgery. Remember that old show?
Yeah.
Speaking of television,
the Swan.
The old show, The Swan,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
They took a girl and they just
transform. If you could just change every little thing about yourself, including your voice, then maybe you'll be acceptable. Otherwise, you might as well hide your face.
Everything on your outside,
nobody wants
nothing
to see
inside. Not the inside, the outside.
No,
if we change the way you look.
And people will actually love you more if you look good. And it's really sad. I mean, it is a natural human tendency to gravitate towards beauty. You see a flower, oh, that's so beautiful. You see a beautiful child, oh, so gorgeous. Oh, I like this. We do like things that are beautiful. But this is a very 3D concept. You know, the 3D dimensional world is all about the physical. It's about the material plane. It's where polarity consciousness exists. It's good or bad. It's right or wrong. It doesn't allow for the spiritual. And then the spiritual is relegated to the religious, which does also embody the polarity of this is right and wrong. Either you're a sinner. If you're a sinner, you better believe in Jesus Christ and take him as your Savior and repent, and then you can go to heaven. I mean, you know, that's what it's
a condition for somebody outside yourself, so that you could do whatever you want, and at the last minute you can say something outside of me save me, rather than judging your own thoughts and actions on your own and trying to take the high road at every turn. It would be the way to use something outside of yourself, so that you could disconnect from yourself, so that you'd be more controlled. And I mean, so now by understanding these reasons, we are freeing ourselves to actually live our purpose, which is to help people awaken and evolve, using whatever gifts, skills, and talents we have. To be loving, to be loving our community, to be loving our family, to be loving ourselves, to be loving our pets, to just be beings of love, because that's really all we were in the first place.
Right.
Or we were meant to be. And so it's like sometimes I listen to these videos, and I have some people actually make me feel good. Like when I listen to the Barbara Marciniak, Bringers of the Dawn, when I listen to somebody like Anelia Benz, when I
Mirabai Devi.
Mirabai Devi, yes. I come out of these. I come out of listening just a lot lighter. They're not denying that there's all these things going on, but they're saying, let's focus on love. Mirabai Devi with the forgiveness chant. I have been doing it all over the place every day.
It's wonderful. It really is.
I do her.
You could feel a difference. Yeah, you shared that with me, and it really works. I mean, and so this is what you're touching upon so many great things, and I just want to go back to where you said something about separating us from each other and from ourselves. And you know, we are in our 3D world and the 3D consciousness, and the idea of being an individual and competing with others. It is all to separate each other, separate us from one another, separate us from ourselves. We have the lifestyle of coming home, watching the television, tuning out to everybody else. It's really not about coming together as a community. We used to be. I mean, there used to be this sense. Look at the Native Americans. Unfortunately, it's the colonialists who generally come in with the religion and the colonial powers and change everything and separate everyone and put them together under the church, under the auspices of the church. And you know, that's another topic. We could, you know, cover that in another show. But I want to stay with the separatists because I think that really can strike a chord of, you know, how we can use these videos, even though we are home, we're not with each other, we're not necessarily in a large community physically, but through the internet, through YouTube, through all these spiritual things that we're connected with, we are connecting with a greater community of people, and we're realizing that we're not separate and we're not alone. And just like the experiments done in the name of quantum physics, we realize that we are all intimately connected within this web or this field, and we do have an influence on each other, and every little thing that we do as individuals does have an impact on the greater whole. We're actually encouraged not to take action. We're encouraged to look to the expert above us, to look, oh, the president's going to take care of that. Oh, your teacher's going to take care of that, or the principal, or your parents, or somebody, anybody, fix it for me.
Mhm.
But the key is we have the power within us. We all have God within us, and we have to take action. And that, exactly like you were saying, our purpose in life is to help spread love, spread compassion, and bring people up and help people awaken and evolve through our own gifts, skills, and talents, and through our own joy. And like with this show, through our own joy and what we're interested in, we're trying to spread the word. And hopefully through this, some people will be inspired, or they'll learn something, or they'll feel a connection, and it'll turn them on to something else, which will inspire them even more. And then they'll feel more connected. And this is a great power that we all have within us. I mean, I want you to talk now because I feel like
No, I think it's interesting. I'm listening and I'm taking it in, and I'm thinking about who has actually inspired me as we're talking, and how and also feelings like where we have to really start to listen to ourselves about what resonates with us and what does not resonate with us. What really feels right when we're listening to it and what doesn't. And Louise Hay and Abraham, Esther Hicks, I come back to them. I don't listen, they were some of the initial people that I got into when I was starting this path of spirituality or the growth that I make. It was Louise Hay a little bit, and it was also, and that was years and years and years ago, and Abraham Hicks. I remember somebody back in the 90s gave me a cassette tape of a show of theirs, and then I fully got into it in in maybe 2004 or something. But with Abraham, but I keep returning to them, and sometimes it just brings me also back. There are different moods that I'm in different ways that different times I'm attracting different people based on my own personal needs, what I need to hear.
Well, yeah, and being a psychic, you also are quite guided to a lot of information. I would say divine. We all can be divinely guided if we tune in to that inner guidance, that inner voice. You're just more accustomed to doing it because it's part of the way you live your life and how you help people. But we all clearly have an ability to do that and then take in what feels right to you. So sometimes Abraham is just the thing you need to hear, and in other times it's not enough. Other times you need Bringers at the Dawn, or you need to listen to David Icke to shake you up a little bit, or you need to listen to Benjamin Fulford to really bring it down to the nuts and bolts of it and say, what is going on with the economy and the cabal and the Illuminati, So the key, I think, is to not let all of the information overwhelm or depress you.
Yeah.
Because there is a point, there was a point where I had to stop listening to so much David Icke. I was taking in so much David Icke to the point where it started to get me a little sad about, well, you felt
helpless. You could feel so helpless, and like, what can I do? And then when you're left to feel helpless, I had an interview. I recently interviewed Laura Magdalene Eisenhower, and my mom's friend, I guess, listened to the interview, and she said, I'm very scared. It made me feel very scared. And, I didn't speak to that person. I don't even really know her friend directly, but when something, it means that you're not ready to hear it, or, and not we're just bouncing ideas off, too. Even though as far as Laura Magdalene Eisenhower, I feel very comfortable saying that they had colonies and they had been finding ways to inhabit Mars. I mean, how could they? That one, I do believe that there's a hidden, a lot of our tax dollars and everything is going to NASA and our spending on something. They're spending it on, and I think that's part of it. There's some, and they have much. Right. I do also believe it resonates very well with me when she says that they have much higher technologies than we even know, that we have even been shown. Meaning NASA, the space programs, the government, the whatever that is exploring Mars and doing a lot of our experiments with time travel.
And the stargates.
And understanding, and they know a lot about the Earth's grid and the energy vortexes here. And so for that reason, I mean, that does resonate with me strongly. A lot of people are like, they become afraid because the media and TV, I mean, they are set to scare us. Look at the movie 2012. Look at a lot of the things that they're talking about, aliens and the future, and then there's the Armageddon type of visions, and then the religion is working to, get people to think about things in those terms. But they're doing it in the form, people have to think, they're doing it in the form of judgment. CJ, they're doing it so that, well, I was good and you were bad. I'm going to heaven. You're going to hell. There's retribution later. I'm just going to follow this. The meek shall inherit the earth. I'll accept that I'm nothing and I might have nothing. There are these different ways to interpret everything that's biblical anyway. And remember the Bible is written by man. So
it was written to disempower. I mean, you could look at it as, taking away from the matriarchal system to a patriarchal system and kind of getting rid of all the earth-based religions and spiritual ways. But you're talking about, so this person that listened to your show is somebody that probably never even heard of Laura Magdalene Eisenhower. And so if that's the first interview you're hearing, that's like going, you skipped over Abraham and Louise Hay, go directly to Laura Magdalene Eisenhower.
Yeah.
It's a huge jump. It's a huge jump for the average person who watches television and gets their information from TV and newspapers and is very focused on physical reality. It's like they can't even wrap their mind around it. And then when they start to, it's just kind of scary. Oh, my God. Oh, what's going to happen to the world? I mean, because you're right. If you watch TV a lot, and which neither of us do anymore, you would start to feel scared and upset and, the world is a horrible place. People are out to get you. Nothing is safe anymore. I mean, that is the way they want people to be, and that keeps us separate in our own little cubes, our own little homes, separate from each other, listening to this disturbing news. I tell you, I'm reading 1984. It's not the easiest read because it's it's depressing. But the more I read it, I'm just like, wow, it is so much like our world in terms of the telescreen and people getting their information from that, and the 2 minutes of hate that they have people do each day. It's an extreme version. It's an alliteration, but it really can apply to our system in that people can be led to do the completely wrong thing, the opposite of what humanity is meant to do, and
based on fear.
Based on fear, exactly. Based on fear of being caught, fear of being arrested, fear of being taken in and tortured. Who knows? And now, with the thing that Obama passed not long ago about Guantanamo Bay.
What, the Patriot Act, that one?
Yeah, the Patriot Act, the thing about if somebody, it's like something about being a possible terrorist. If you're somebody that questions the government and maybe is somebody that's speaking out against the things that the government is doing, you can be held indefinitely at Guantanamo Bay. Oh, geez, you could almost be arrested and held for growing your own vegetables now because you're bringing the power into your own hands over what you take in. And that's the thing. They don't want people to have the power to take in what they want. I mean, look at what's happening to the Internet with the crackdown on, and with being able to do more censorship. We can only look. America is at the forefront of this extreme control, which started back after 9/11 when Bush was in office. It took away a lot of our constitutional rights and made it okay to tap our phones, to read our mail, to look at all our emails, to see what we're doing. Our cell phones can track us. There's a lot of ways in which
under control. It seemed like that was like that in the McCarthy era, though, too, where they started calling people communists back then.
Oh, exactly.
We always seem to have an enemy, though, throughout our entire history, even what we were taught, supposedly, supposed history. We were learning, there was the French and Indian War, and we had the enemies, I think, were the English then, or the British, and French and Indian War, wasn't it?
What was the French and Indian War?
The French were the enemy. Then I think it was us against the British, and the British were the enemy. Then we had we were enemies. We were enemies with all kinds of people at all different times. We were told to not like Japanese during the time of Pearl Harbor. We were taught that Jews weren't liked at different points. The Germans were the enemy. There were all kinds of enemies. There was Iran, then there was Iraq, then there's it's propagated hate against different groups of people to keep the economy going or to keep things rolling economically, which is a system that's based on hate and fear. It's pretty cut and dry. I mean, I wonder, when you learn about the wars and all the history is left out, it's very interesting.
Oh, I know, and it's such a broad and deep topic, but, you hit the nail on the head. It's not only drives the economy, but it also drives a basic idea within ourselves that we're separate from each other. Oh, look at all these foreigners. I mean, I live in New York City. There's so many people from all over the world living here. It seems in a way like a utopian dream. Oh, we're coexisting peacefully. But underneath, there's a lot of anger. There's a lot of distrust. There's a lot of people saying it's not the way it used to be.
Scarcity. It's scarcity. There's not enough resources to go around. We can't have these people come in and share the wealth. There's not enough. There's not enough of anything, and there really is enough of everything. We hoard our stuff. I mean, that's what the Hopi Indians called mental illness when people were hoarding.
Exactly. Oh, is that the part from that movie I Am?
I saw that movie I Am, and that's what they were saying.
That was really good.
Very good. Oh, I haven't liked something in so long as much as that. I like that as much as Thrive.
That's a great 3-part documentary done by Tim Shadyac, who is the director of such films as Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. And it's funny because he even uses himself as an example of this mental illness, of extreme hoarding, of needing so much that you don't, of wanting so much that you're never even going to take it all in. So that was the example of the great hunter of the tribe building a high mountain cave where he hid his meat. Because he said, I'm the one who's doing all the work. I shouldn't have to share this. And then the problem is the sick, the poor, and the old are the ones who are on the bottom of the heap, and they're actually fed less and less while food is stored for the rich. And basically, that is our culture. That is how we're taught to live. Individuals are more important than all the rest, and the richest people are the most important, and that's what the media is focused on. I mean, remember when Paris Hilton was the it girl? It was all about her, and one of the richest families in the world, and that was what was respected about her.
That was her claim to fame, just because of what she came in as.
And now it's Kim Kardashian and her sisters, and it's always going to be some new girl. And the point of this is to distract us from what's really important. And TV is such a mind-numbing tool. And I have even at times gotten into it. I was sick. I had the flu. And I'll tell you, I did want to watch movies and television because I wanted to kind of turn my mind off There's when you're watching things on YouTube and you're listening to lectures and interviews, it actually takes some brain power. You have to be somewhat focused. You have to be wanting to take it in. It's not a mind-numbing activity. It's actually we're self-educating, and then we're sharing what we're getting and we're talking about it, and it's such a new way of taking in media that I think can really change the world, and it is changing the world. And if we could convince everyone to stop watching TV, I bet you that would make a huge change.
I'll tell you right
now,
there's one show that I've been following for years, and that was Celebrity Apprentice. It comes on like once a year, and they have this thing. And so we've been watching it, and we'd been so into it. Oh, my God, we were gung-ho, and we would watch it. And we're watching it this round, and you can see all the negative messages. We're looking at, like, how people are treating each other. We're almost looking at it as, oh, my God, what are we getting from this? So it's like it took the joy out of even watching the Celebrity Apprentice. I did for a while. I would follow shows, and I didn't even realize what it was doing to me. Now it's noticeable. Now all the hidden messages, all the secret things, all the ways they're making you feel like you couldn't possibly be successful, and the only way you'd be successful is if you could work well for somebody like Donald Trump. It's how to work for somebody and be top of the line, but we're still working for someone. You're not really your own person. You're working on their missions and their ideas. They say it's for charity at the end, but it's showing the spirit of competition, and I think that we need to change our mindset. It's got to be the spirit of cooperation.
Exactly.
Everybody working together as a community and an entire village.
You know, and that is such a good point, Helane, and I think we all know that in our hearts, the community is the thing that will save us. And when we feel a part of a community, there's a joy and an elation to that and a feeling of not being alone. Because I think that, community is a panacea for loneliness.
Well, the thing is, we are lonely. People are lonely because they feel separate. There's a loneliness, an emptiness that's pervasive within the human collective. We don't know why, but if we felt connected to Source, connected to all there is, realizing that we're one, there wouldn't be that loneliness.
Totally.
And so this is what we're working towards, and it's happening as we're slowly releasing all these emotional parts that were stored within us that seem during this shift to be coming up more and more, which is obviously why we're on this quest for information to understand what's going on with us, why something has changed, and all the darker spots or shadow spots within us seem to be just coming out one after the next, and we're being forced not to stuff it, but to look at it and process it and have forgiveness and release it.
Well, that is such a good point. Those of us who are open to increasing our consciousness to this evolution in consciousness, yes, maybe we're more aware of this, but I think it's happening to a lot of people as well. I think the negativity is coming up for other people, and yet our society, American culture anyway, encourages people to take pills so as not to feel those pains. Oh, you're depressed, take this pill. You might have horrible side effects like heart attacks and uncontrollable vomiting or whatever it is, but you need to take this
with the medications and the.
I mean, and you see these on TV, but I mean that's what it is, I think, and that's why so many people are asleep. I mean, not only because they're medicated, but I do think that you're right. Things are coming up for a lot of people. The dark spots are no longer hidden. Everything is coming to the light, and it's a collective process, it's happening in a cosmic level, it's happening on an earthly level, it's happening on an individual level inside of our psyches, inside of our physical bodies. A lot of people are experiencing imbalance and noticing it, and I think that's the key, is for those of us who do know that this is the process, this is the thing that will lead us into the light, which is to embrace ourselves and these parts of us that have been hidden for so long. We might not even be aware of exactly what is bothering us. We just know something doesn't feel right. And you might be doing something that's completely disconnected, or you're talking to someone, and all of a sudden after that you're just crying, and then you're reminded of something from your past that you never even thought about. And it's painful to look at. And I think our first instinct is to look away, is to ignore. Oh, I want to eat this food. Oh, I want to smoke this cigarette. I'm going to have a drink. I'm going to watch TV. I'm going to tune out. Or I'm going to take these pills.
Now,
but the key is to focus on it and to allow the light to come in.
It is so true. I'm having some trouble with my system here, so I'm flipping on and off, in and out of the show. Yes. And so we have had a wonderful show, and as we bring it to a close, I'd like to remind people to tune in next Wednesday, 1 p.m., Cosmic Current. In leaving our audience, I just want to share, I am Helane Lipson, Psychic Astrologer. My information to get in touch with me, reach out to me if you're interested in a reading or even want to look at my site. It is www.insightsbyhelane.com, www.insightsbyhelane.com. CJ?
Yeah, my information, I'm CJ Miller, psychospiritual counselor, hypnotist, and energy healer. And you can reach me by going to www.wholeearthhealing.com, wholeearthhealing.com, and you can email me through that as well. So I look forward to any contact. People want to write me and take a look at what I do. It's been great talking with you today, and I hope that we didn't lose too much of the information through this cutting out of your side of the phone.
I know. We have such great feedback from our flash chat, too. People are loving our show. They're saying it's awesome and very, very positive feedback. Listeners, please tune in next Wednesday.
Week at 1 o'clock on Wednesday.
Till then,
I feel like
everybody,
I should talk in case you're...
Well, I'm going to close it out. So love, light, and blessings to all, everyone.
Thank you.